Welcome back to Royals Weekly. I am your host, Marcus Mead, and joining me as always, what was left over after they scientifically created Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito and twins? Like all that leftover stuff became my brother Mike.
Yeah, the movie was supposed to be called Triplets, but I was just a sack of cells, and they were like, "Gross, get him out of here." I didn't make the cut, as they say in the biz, But
Yeah, but it's all politics mostly.
if you're one step down from DeVito, who is a legend and a
Who
fucking
is a
awesome one,
legend?
but still,
Greatest
physically, if you're one step down from DeVito, you're not doing so hot.
Greatest spokesperson in Jersey Mike's history.
That's
that
true.
guy.
That's true.
On this week's episode, we're going to look back at what was a pretty rough week for the boys in blue. They dropped a couple series that have fans a little agitated, I guess was what we'll go with at this point. And then we're going to discuss a little bit of the upcoming MLB draft. We thought, what could make things a little happier? Let's not talk about the Major League team. Let's talk about the upcoming Major League draft. It sneaks up on me every year anyway, and so we got some time now to talk a little bit about it. And then we're going to preview this week's games. But first, a reminder, go out and subscribe to the Royals Weekly Substack. You become a paid subscriber to that Substack, you get 2 extra episodes a week. You get at least 1 article a week, and then you get additional articles as well. I wrote an excellent article earlier this week about trade chips that the Royals have to offer. You'll be surprised at some of the names that I threw in there as possible trade chips. Get your money's worth with $5 a month. You get tons and tons of extra content. We just did a ticket giveaway to one of our lucky paid Substack subscribers. It's going great over there. We love the discourse created by our paid Substack subscribers. royalsweekly.substack.com. Also, make sure you're leaving us reviews on Apple Podcasts and rating us on every platform you can. That helps us out tremendously. If you're like, you want to help us out, you want to keep this podcast going, make sure you're reviewing and rating us on Apple Podcasts and all the other podcast apps. We will read those Apple Podcast reviews on the episodes, as you have heard in the past. Don't have one this week. Would love to have one next week. Make sure you get out there and review us if you can, okay? We'll start the review of last week with roster news. There was a little bit of it, and some of it was not great, frankly. One interesting one that I think a lot of fans were excited to see, the Royals officially called up John Rave on Monday morning. If you'll remember our last week's episode, we mentioned that they'd optioned Kevin Biggio, but it wasn't 100% sure that it'd be John Rave who they called up. They did, in fact, call him up, so he is now officially on the 26-man roster. Mike, what do you think about seeing John Rave come to the major leagues?
Well, it hurt today. I can tell you that. He came up with the bases loaded and 2 outs today and was not able to come through with anything. He's been kind of meh so far, but that's somewhat what I expected because I see John Rave as more of a 4th outfielder, kind of the 25th or 26th guy on a major league roster. He's missed some big opportunities so far. Hope to see a little bit more from him as far as the patience and the approach goes, but just got to see him produce more offensively to really be a contributor here. Still looking to see what he can do moving forward.
Yeah, I think he's looked fine. I think you're seeing that major league pitchers are exploiting some of the weaknesses that we saw at AAA, but maybe to a larger degree. Some swing and miss in there, some swing and miss. They're getting him to chase up and stuff like that. And so, those weaknesses are coming out. And you're also seeing that John Rave doesn't have a ton of raw power in there, so he's not like driving him into the gaps or hitting him over the wall or anything. I think he's playing a great outfield, which is nice. I think he's doing some things well, which is good to see. And obviously, he's giving more than Hunter Renfroe was giving because
that's
there's really no way to give up less. So,
yeah.
So I'm happy with him being in Royal Blue right now, but we'll see how it goes for the next couple of weeks. Also this week, and this is much more important in some ways, the Royals saw the return of Seth Lugo from the 15-day IL. He started a game against, was that in that Red series? No, this is in the Tiger series, opening night of the Tiger series. Yeah, he started, gave up, I think, 4 runs in like 3 2/3. Was not great in his return, but he's back in the rotation. Mike, what are your thoughts on getting him off the IL and into the starting rotation?
His command was really bad, like very un-Seth Lugo in that game. It seems like almost every breaking pitch he threw backed up on him. Not like, he throws a curveball, goes down, he throws a slider, it goes glove side. That wasn't happening. They were all backing up to the middle of the plate. Now, it fooled some guys at times because you don't expect that from Seth Lugo, but it just wasn't very good. The fastball wasn't always where it needed to be. He looked like a guy who probably needed a rehab start but didn't get one, and therefore left him with subpar command. And Lugo, because he relies on such a great mixture of pitches and not elite stuff, kind of needs a little bit better command to last deep into a game. And so, yeah, it wasn't the return that I wanted to see. I thought he would be better, but good to get that under your belt, I guess, at least. And now he'll get a bullpen in there and then before his next start. And hopefully that cleans up some of those command issues.
Yeah, he didn't look great, but it's nice to have him back because the Royals, frankly, they've started to stretch their pitching pretty thin at this point with the 2 bullpen games to cover for, Lugo or Reagans, whichever one you say. And then, they've had some bullpen injuries as well, which we're going to talk about. And so, the pitching staff is spread pretty thin right now, not to mention that they have to carry the entire team because the offense refuses to score. And so, a lot on the pitching staff, and they're starting to show that thinness.
Yeah, and let's be honest here. After the starting rotation, after Noah Cameron is not there's really nothing. There isn't a whole lot to dig from. They called down Andrew Hoffman. You're called down to get Andrew Hoffman. We saw what he was. I don't think he's really a major. I think he's more of a quad A depth guy. I don't think you want him up here throwing significant innings. And so that's where you got to go. I mean, they got nothing else to turn to at this point.
Right. Kyle Wright is down for a rehab assignment right now, but who knows how long it'll be before he's back. It's just right now they're sort of like
Reagans is starting his rehab in Double A.
He did a rehab assignment in Double A, but getting any of these starting pitchers back is a good thing because the Royals rely so heavily on their pitching. They really can't spend too much time with a lot of those guys down. Okay, and so luckily Lugo's back. Hopefully the next start looks a little better, looks a little more Lugo-esque, but at the very least, he's helping in some regard. We mentioned it previously, and this is an injury that is probably going to take a little bit of a toll on the Royals pitching staff here. Lucas Erceg went to the 15-day injured list with a low back strain. Mike, what are your thoughts on losing their some people would say their best reliever?
It hurts. It hurts big time. It's not a good thing when you rely, like you said, so heavily on the pitching that, it feels like any one of these pitching injuries is just a huge body blow. It's like, okay, are we going to be able to score enough runs to get to a point where having Lucas Erceg not there, where we can give up a run or two in the later innings? Is that okay? I don't feel like that's ever okay with this team because I don't feel like they're ever going to be up enough that they're going to be able to overcome that. And so when we saw this, there was kind of like some tea leaves there. We were like, hey, wait a second. This is a situation where they should be bringing in Erceg and they didn't. And then finally they come with we're putting him on the 15-day IL. It's like, oh, that is absolutely crushing because now we're going to lean heavily on John Schreiber, who I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of faith in him in those big time places. It's just not a team that can really afford a large amount of injuries.
I mean, there really isn't one of those teams. Those teams don't exist who can take a ton of injuries.
But there's going to be some teams who will outscore other teams, even if their bullpen isn't right. The Royals are never going to be that team this year.
No, LA has suffered. The Dodgers have suffered quite a few injuries already this year, but they always come back because their offense is also good enough to sort of compete with the best teams in baseball. And so, yeah, losing Erceg means they're now down 2 of their top 3 relievers because Matt Harvey's also out. And so that is quite a blow.
Not Matt Harvey, Hunter Harvey.
Matt Harvey.
Matt Harvey's he no longer plays. A little bit of a nose candy issue.
The Dark Knight, if you will. Real dark some nights. But yeah, so Hunter Harvey being down, Lucas Erceg being down, that's 2 guys you could really rely on there for high leverage moments. Now who do you have? Who has experience and has done well in high leverage moments? You have Carlos Estevez, and that's it. Right? And so, unless you're wanting to throw the 9th, which is when he typically comes in, you're relying on Angel Zerpa more. You're relying on John Schreiber more. You're relying on Steven Cruz more. Yeah. You're relying on Daniel Lynch more, and that's going to show cracks. I mean, it's going to, you're relying on Taylor Clark more, and then you also have starters down. And so those guys are throwing all 9 innings of a bullpen game. You're going to be forced to put some of your 6th, 7th, 8th guy out of the bullpen into important situations. And you don't want to you don't have to do that because, then you're going to have Hoffman giving up 3 additional runs or whatever to the Reds, and that game's now out of touch or out of reach for the Royals. And so it's one of those things where losing Ursig actually has a lot of ripple effects that ultimately hurt the team in lots of ways, and then dealing with it on top of starter injuries, even rougher. Well, we have one more thing to discuss roster-wise. We actually finished recording our episode right when the news broke that Jeff Passan is reporting that Jac Caglione is being called up by the Kansas City Royals after, 30 games in or 40,
approximately
50.
Yes.
Approximately 50 games in minor league baseball. He will be called up to the Kansas City Royals to help supplement this offense. Mike, what are your thoughts on Caglione to the major leagues right now?
It's still too early for me. I wouldn't have brought him up yet. I realize the offense is as bad as the offense can be right now, but I don't think Jac Caglione is actually going to change that much. I don't think one guy is going to be the answer to how bad this offense is right now. Can he help? Maybe. Where's he going to play?
That's what actually my next question was, roster related. How do you think they're going to get him on the roster?
Well, that's easier to me. I understand getting him on the roster. You can send John Rave back down. You can, send Drew Waters back down. There's a million things you can do to get him on the roster. I just don't know where you don't bring Jac Caglione up unless he's playing like every day. Where you put?
Oh, of course not. Of course,
is he going to play right field? Is he going to play right?
I think he'll play.
You send John Rave down and put him in
I don't know
right?
if you send John Rave down. I send Michael Massey down personally.
Oh, that would be
and
cool.
then I send Michael Massey down, and then Lofton plays more second. India plays more second, and that sort of thing. And then Jack comes up, plays some right field, plays some DH, and plays some first base maybe. Right. And so I think they'll find a way to get the rotation working. I think the question is he ready? And I think that is a legitimate question. And I think there's a chance. I see sort of two paths here. There's a chance he comes up and looks like he has basically in AA and AAA. Yeah, too aggressive at times. Yeah, chases a little too much. And that's not going to just look like swing and misses. That's going to look like, he put a ball in play really weakly because he chased a pitch outside the strike zone, but he has a good enough hit tool to make contact with it, right? It's going to look like that sometimes. And then also sometimes he's just dropping bombs, right? And maybe they brought him up right now because they thought, well, we'd rather bring him up when the offense is successful, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen in the near future. Let's bring him up when he's going to face the Cardinals in a fairly small ballpark, and then he's going to face the White Sox. So he has a chance to get some traction facing a couple of the Cardinals are good. They're a good team, but the White Sox are not. And so getting a chance to get some confidence maybe against the White Sox and get going, I think is maybe one of the reasons they're calling him up now. But obviously, this is also just a desperation move, right? They need offense so badly, and there's no other way to sell it.
That's really what we should be asking ourselves here is if the Royals offense wasn't this bad, would you be calling him up? No, you would not.
No, probably not.
You would not be doing that. And that's the idea behind good development is it doesn't matter what the major league team is doing. Is this guy ready? I don't think that you can say that that because he's had, I'll just let you know right now. He's had 47 AAA at-bats.
Yeah,
he's had 47 AAA at-bats. That's not great. He's got 12 games of AAA experience. Not exactly what you're looking for when you pull up your number one prospect.
And the Royals must be thinking we don't care that it's going to cost us some money because he is probably going to have Super 2 status as a result of coming up right now. If he plays and performs well enough, he will have Super 2 status. And as a result, he will cost a lot more in arbitration. Right? They could have waited a week.
Do they lose a
10
year?
days. No, they don't lose a year of control.
Okay.
He just costs more money. And so they must have been willing to take that financial burden. Now they may have plans that are we're going to try and lock him up long term and that sort of thing. I don't know, but let's ask ourselves and answer this question. Mike, do you think the Royals offense will be better as a result of having Jac Caglione in it?
I do because I think even if he struggles with the things that we think he may, he's still chasing too much, which then of course leads to some weak contact and more strikeouts. I think even if he hits 200, he's still the best power producer on your team. You know, he'll hit more home runs than every person on this team, even hitting 200. Because there are going to be relief pitchers that leave balls in the middle that he just doesn't even have to square up all the way necessarily and can get them out. So yeah, I don't know that it's going to be great. I think especially we see some, I mean, it's good. I agree. It's good they're bringing him up this week because if he'd have faced this Tigers rotation, I don't think that would have gone well. Maybe Montero, but him against Skubal or even Casey Mize, although Casey Mize wasn't very good that night. I just feel like those more advanced level pitchers are going to exploit the hell out of him. It's going to take some time to adjust.
I mentioned that there were two paths. I told you what the first one was. I didn't tell you what the second one was. The first path, he looks very similar to what has happened in AA and AAA, which is, yes, he's still chasing. Yes, he's still overly aggressive. But the fact, because he's hitting balls so hard and doing so much damage when he gets a pitch he can hit, he's just performing and producing gangbusters, you know? The other path is what you just mentioned, that Major League pitching is a little too much for him. He's putting too many weak balls in play. He's only hitting 210. He's only walking 5% of the time. He's chasing and striking out 25 to 30% of the time, right? Like that's the bad scenario there. And you can recover from that. He might learn from that and sort of recover, but for a while, the Royals offense is still going to look pretty bad if that's how he comes up and performs. And now if somebody asked me, you can put money on one of those two outcomes. Because of how well he did in spring training, because of how well he's done consistently throughout the minor leagues, I'm going to say he's more likely to fall on the side that's like, yeah, I chase a little too much, I'm a little too aggressive, but when I get a pitch I can hit, I absolutely destroy it. I think that's where he's going to end up in Major League Baseball. If you're asking me for a slash line, I think
he could improve because a lot of guys improve later in their career. Even Salvador Perez has done it a little bit at how aggressive they are outside the zone.
Right.
So this first year, though, there could be some bumps.
That's why they're bringing him up, though. They're bringing him up to help the offense now. That's why it's very clear. They probably think he's ready. I don't think they're like, oh, he's not ready, but we need him. You know, I think they think, okay, he's ready. Let's bring him up and give him a new challenge here in Major League Baseball.
How could you know that in 47 at bats?
Tough. It's tough to know. It's tough to know. Although he is crushing AAA pitching, and they have he's seen a lot of pitches. So one of the data points they have a lot on are swing decisions, right? And so they have it charted. I've seen scouts do this at games. They chart pitches in a much more advanced way than we do. So the data they're looking at is not just plate appearance to plate appearance, it's pitch to pitch. So yeah, he's only got 50 some games in the high minors, but he's seen 2,000 pitches. And so they're seeing pitch level data that's telling them he'll be okay swing decision wise in Major League Baseball. I guarantee that, right? They're not letting him come up if they don't see that data, I promise. But remains to be seen when you're facing so much better pitching. The jump from AAA to the majors is huge. Okay. It's very, very big. We'll see what that means for him. I think if I had to put my money on it though, I think Jac Caglianone will be a productive hitter for the Royals even this year. And then we'll continue to maybe get better as he moves forward.
Do you think they hit him like 3?
Yeah.
Behind Bobby? Like, do you bump Vinny to 5 and move him to 3? You think right away?
Maybe. I mean, I might even consider maybe Vinny's not the one who gets bumped. Maybe Salvi is. I'm not sure. So I know they like to go righty lefty, but I think he goes in the middle of the lineup. Like that's why he's coming here, right? Like
it wouldn't surprise me if he's hitting 5 behind Sal's right-handed bat quite a bit.
Yeah, we'll see. On the field this week, it was an extremely disappointing homestand for the Royals. They went 2-4 this week to bring their overall record to 31-29. They dropped 2 of 3 to the Reds, and then they dropped 2 of 3 to the Tigers in heartbreaking fashion. This Sunday game was a heartbreaker, not because of some big late inning thing. It was like the heart slowly got crushed inning after inning as the Royals continued their offensive futility. Mike, what you got for the people about last week's performance?
Well, this is how it goes when you are good in only one facet of the game, as the Royals are. The Royals are leaning on pitching, and the pitching is starting to show signs of weakness with the injuries, as you just mentioned. it's not a team that's going to outscore anybody. And if they're not going to outscore anybody, they need to be plus in the pitching. And that's just not the case. Even today, Bubic was plus, but their offense is literally so bad they couldn't muster a run against Cater Montero. And
who you might say? We don't freaking
we don't
know.
Really know.
Nobody freaking knows.
Because Cater Montero is a spot
like,
starter
this guy?
for the exactly. And so when you are that way, when you lean on one part of your team like that, your margin for error is 0. And when you don't, I mean, I think they had 9 or 10 hits today and didn't score a run.
9 hits.
No power production at all. If you don't hit 15 singles, you get 3 runs. and it sucks.
Yeah, it's rough, and it's an abject failure of a week. I mean, this is a 6-game homestand. You have a bunch of interesting things happening. You have Big Slick happening. You had Mike Moustaka's retirement ceremony happening, and you come out and you just deliver a body blow to your fan base. I mean, the level of like dejectedness and destroyed morale that exists out there right now is just really, really rough because they're so bad offensively. I mean, Mike, you were out at the game today, and I kind of felt sorry for you being out there. And it's like, why am I feeling bad for me? He's out at a ball game.
Oh, it was a great time.
Because you were there in person to watch what was just garbage offense from the Kansas City Royals. It was so tough to watch. And it's not just the hitting. I mean, the hitting's the big part of it. But then they get on the bases and they run into outs. And that is like a secondary blow right to your nuts, right into right to your beanbag. It's like, oh, how are you going to do that? And so, just an abject failure of a week when the Royals really could have used something different. Mike, I'm guessing this is all going to be pitchers. Who was your strong performer for the week?
Well, that's the weird thing. Like, you can go through and find some hitters that had solid weeks if you're looking at numbers. But go look at the one that matters right now for this offense, which is slugging percentage, and it's a fucking travesty. So I went with Chris Bubic. I went with the pitcher because that's the easy way to go for strong performer right now because he was so good today. I was out there. I mean, you're watching it. You're going, oh, my gosh, this guy's unbelievable. 7 innings pitched, 4 hits. 1 earned run, 2 walks, and 9 strikeouts in those 7 innings. That ought to win you a baseball game, ladies and gentlemen.
That's against a good lineup.
Yeah. How did they get it? They got a triple followed by, I think just a single. I can't even remember what it was. They happened to string a couple hits together to score a single run, and that was enough to win. Chris Bubic took the loss today, guys. He's been absolutely unbelievable, and it's really setting up kind of an interesting thing because the Royals have Reagans locked up for next year. They have Waka locked up for next year. And they have Bubic locked up. He's got 1 more year as well, I believe, right? Of control.
Yeah.
If Lugo decides to go, he slides right in there. No problem. Maybe you do Waka in front of him just because he's a righty to break up him and Reagans. You feel like you've got Noah Cameron too. I mean, Bubic's ascension to this place should be like franchise altering. But if the offense doesn't do anything, it's just, hell, but you still have a good rotation,
It's just, should we start thinking about trading Chris Bubic? That's what the conversation will become, right? Like, because what's the point of having stellar pitching to this degree if you cannot hit at all, and as a result, you're a 500 team? It's like, think about the NFL. What's the point of having a quarterback who can help you go, 7 and 8 every year? Or I guess they don't do 8 and 8 because now they have 17. Yeah, but you get what I'm saying. Who can help you be 500 every year? It's not going to do anything for you, right? Like, and so at some point you have to make a decision. Bubic only has 1 year of control left. My strong performer for the week also going to be a pitcher. It's going to be a pitcher until morale improves, and by that I mean offense starts hitting. I'm going with Michael Waka, who got the Royals their only win again in that Tiger series. He went 7 innings, gave up only 1 hit, took a no-hitter into the 7th. 0 runs, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts for him. He was just masterful. His changeup looked outside this world unbelievable. I mean, it was so good. And part of that was, I think he slowed it down a little bit. I saw some stuff about how the average velocity on that changeup was down a little bit, and it was just diving an incredible amount. I bet the movement on it was insane for that game, because Some of them were starting up in the zone and ending down at the shoelaces. I mean, it was incredible. And he just controlled the Tigers lineup the entire night and outdueled Tarek Skubal essentially, or at least went toe to toe with him. The Royals were able to grab a run in the 8th or 9th and then ended up with their only victory of that series. So Michael Wacha definitely deserving of a strong performer bid. Mike, plenty of guys. I see what you did here. Plenty of guys capable of a week performing this week or last week or worthy of it. Who did you choose? Looks like you chose more than one.
Yeah, I had to go with a combo of guys here because I can't go weak performer and not highlight how bad this offense has been. But if you go look at the regular guys and how they did this week, other than the guy you chose, they don't look that terrible. You're like, oh, these numbers don't look that bad. But once you get past that batting average and on base percentage, it looks pretty bad. So I'm going with Salvador Perez and Vinny Pasquantino as my week performance. I'm going 2 guys, and for this specific reason. Some of you are going to go, Salvi had huge numbers this week. Oh, he was great. Okay, these guys are the 3 and 4 hitter in our lineup just damn near every day. Okay, 41 at-bats this week. They had 2 extra base hits and 3 RBI. 2. Okay, that ain't going to cut it on a team that relies wholeheartedly on their 1 through 4 hitters to score runs. That's it. Okay, we are not producing any power outcomes. We're not driving in runs at all. Hits, high. Runs, low. It's a not hard thing to figure out. Okay, we cannot drive in runs because we have zero power production from the guys who are meant to be our power production. Both of those guys have slugging percentages under 400 this year. That's Jonathan India territory. That's leadoff hitter stuff. That's weak hitting second baseman and shortstop stuff.
That's what Alcides Escobar did.
Exactly. So please, I mean, I understand, oh, great, they had great batting averages this year. Drive the ball over the fence, off the fence, something. Extra bases, please.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about.
You're not fast enough to provide any other value.
Oh, definitely not. I'm going to talk about a guy who is fast enough, who had some extra base hits this week, but no other hits. He had an OPS under 600 this week, and that was Bobby Witt Jr. You talk about somebody who came up with lots of opportunities. He came up with quite a few opportunities this last week and did not do a lot with them. He went 3 for 22. All of his hits were extra base hits. He had 2 doubles and a home run, but he only had 3 hits in 22 at-bats. And so he had 1 walk and 4 strikeouts as well. You know, he just was not the type of hitter they need him to be. They need him to be a superstar. They could probably scratch out 3 or 4 runs a game if he was just really good. This week we saw what it's like for them trying to score when he's not very good. They were terrible. And honestly, this lineup relies so heavily on him. Any week he's terrible, the team's going to be terrible. That's just kind of how it goes.
That's what I brought up in the Mike's Drop episode this past week. I said, we need Bobby Witt Jr. to be an absolute superstar to win this series against the Tigers, and he wasn't. But when you have an offense like this that just hangs their hat on one guy whose tools do not scream, I'm going to be a consistent hitter, this is what's going to happen. You hang your hat on guys that are on a very small handful of guys who are ultra aggressive, don't, maybe have the ability to consistently get on base or consistently produce power outcomes, things like that. What do you expect? You expect a bottom 5 offense, and that's what this is.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me. Like, people brought this up as like, should Alex Zumwalt be on the hot seat? I think he absolutely should be. But part of me is also wondering, like, are they paying for the sins of previous regimes with how aggressive and how bad these plate appearances are? Like, we know that Michael Massey is the product of the previous regime, really. We know that, a lot of these hitters are Salvador Perez and stuff like that. Are they paying the price for years and years and years of neglecting the importance of swing decisions? Right? Like, I think they are. I think at the same time, Alex Zumwalt does not put enough emphasis on the importance of swing decisions, or places too much emphasis on being quote unquote aggressive in your swing decisions. But and that's bound to happen. You're bound to have your best hitter be a guy who, despite the fact that he is your best hitter and a great player, still does not have a good approach at the plate. That's going to be a problem sometimes. Mike, all that being said, what do you give us a real downer of a theme for the week? Because we deserve one, honestly. Let's be frank. We deserve a downer of a theme.
Well, I went to the cinematic, great film of High Fidelity, if you've never seen it. The John Cusack vehicle. Great film if you've never checked it out. But there's a line from Jack Black and his phenomenal performance as Barry, the kind of sidekick at the record store, where they're asking kind of questions about these music stars, and he says, "Is it in fact unfair to criticize a formerly great artist for his latter-day sins? Is it better to burn out or fade away?" Okay, it feels like this team is not fading away, but burning out. It feels like there's no juice left in the offensive tank. There are no bullets left in the offensive gun. And now we're going to throw the gun at them? Like there's nothing left for them to do. And part of that is maybe like an allegory for Salvador Perez's career. I don't know if he's done being the guy he was 2 years ago. I have no clue. But that's what I'm wondering. Like, is this lineup burning out? Is it done? Are we not going to get a Vinny Pasquantino that can be a middle of the order bat ever? Because guys, I know we think, oh, when he wasn't hurt a couple years ago, 108 last year. Before he got hurt, 108 weighted runs created plus. That's what he was as a hitter. That ain't setting the world on fire. That's not everyday number 3 hitter in a good major league lineup. And so do we have that guy anymore? I'm not seeing him.
Tough to say. And that brings me very nicely to my theme for the week, because it's pretty succinct and pretty, straightforward, I guess. It comes from one of my favorite television shows, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Mike, I know you're a big fan as well.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of great lines to choose from there, from all the great characters. I'm going to choose one, and I think I may have used this before, I'm not sure, but it goes perfectly for the week and perfectly for the sentiment of the fan base right now. It comes from the great Andre Brower playing Captain Raymond Holt. When he's not feeling great, he's writing a eulogy for someone's funeral or something, and all he can come up with is this, and I'll leave it here. Pain. Royals Weekly is brought to you by All in Physical Therapy, who are happy to announce that they are now offering strength and conditioning programs for youth athletes. Just starting this month in June, they'll offer strength and conditioning programs for athletes who want to gain an edge on the football field, basketball court, or baseball field.
Can they do anything to help my shuffleboard game? Because old Agnes down at the Legion has been talking a lot of smack lately. It's coming for you, Agnes.
Yeah. And of course, All In still offers the best in recovery from total joint surgeries after Mike fractures some old lady's hip, and sports injuries and all that sort of stuff too. They have offices in Blue Springs, Lee Summit, and Belton. They'll help you take care of your recently replaced hips, knees, shoulders, elbows, you name it.
Get me a robot elbow, and then I'll show Agnes what's up. Yeah, I'm talking about elbowing a senior citizen in the face. Greatest generation, my ass.
If you're interested in reaching the peak of your athletic performance or getting back to 100% from an injury, check out All In Physical Therapy at allin-pt.com. That's ALLIN-pt.com. Or give them a call at 816-427-5300. That's 816-427-5300. You've heard enough about the Royals' dreadful offense, so instead of beating that dead horse to a pulp, we're going to look into the future. The calendar just turned to June, which means that we're about 6 or 7 weeks away from the 2025 MLB Draft, a chance for the Royals to add talent to a farm system that, while improving, could certainly use it. The Royals have picks 23, 28, 61, and 71 on day one of the draft, and the 11th most bonus pool money. Mike, with all that in mind, how will this year be a little different for the Royals than years past, with their first pick not coming until the 23rd in the first round?
Well, it's going to open up some possibilities, because I think that's a place in the draft where some teams are willing to take some chances on some high school talent that they may not feel as comfortable doing in the top 5 or top 10. There's a lot of times, and it's a little different now with the way that college is structured and NIL money and that sort of stuff, but there's often guys who you feel like maybe are premium athletes, but they don't have necessarily a premium tool yet or enough premium tools to go top 5 or top 10, but they'll slide to 23. I think Mike Trout was like 22 or 23 when he got drafted out of high school in New Jersey. but you can find some really good high school stuff. And the Royals are somewhat, at least recently, somewhat hesitant in taking high school talent with their first pick. But I think back here at the back end, you may be looking at 23 and 28 as maybe we can get 2 premium high school talents that we think can turn into maybe superstar level players, because you can get, I mean, other than the cream of the crop in high school that might go, say, a Jackson Holiday or who's that kid?
Connor Griffin. Who
Connor
went
Griffin.
last year,
I'm thinking of
Marcelo
the
Mayer.
kid that was really young.
Not Bryce Harper.
No. Collier. Maybe he didn't go top 10. He might have fallen to 15.
He wasn't a high school kid. Technically, he was a junior college kid.
Oh, yeah, but he was like 17 junior college, wasn't
he was still pretty young.
Yeah.
Because,
Anyway, so I'm thinking not those like cream of the crop top 10 high school kids, but the other ones that are also extremely talented. Maybe you can score 2 of those at 23 and 28.
Yeah, I think the fact that they're going to be sort of outside the running for the real top tier of this draft means it more likely to play money games, I think, with the 23rd, 28th, 61, 71. That means a lot of the players they're going to be looking at are going to be sort of similarly ranked. And so they might play some money games to get themselves a more premium prospect at 23, 28, so think about it like this. Let's say there's a guy who has top 15 talent, like a high school guy, but he wants top 15 money, but he doesn't get taken in the top 15. Well, guess what? The Royals will have the money at 23 and 28 to take him if they want to and pay him something closer to 15 money. And so there's a decent chance they have a chance to scoop up some serious talent, but it might be something a little bit different route than they took, say, last year with a Jac Caglione. Might mean that they're a little bit less likely to target something like a college bat when all the elite college bats typically go in the top 20 and, there aren't going to be many left in that area. Mike, with all the money and picks they have, how would you like the Royals to approach day one of this draft coming up?
Yeah, in this like 20 to 30 range, I like guys that still have loud tools, but maybe haven't produced, or they've had an injury, or I'm going to talk both the guys I'm going to talk about here in a minute have had some sort of question mark, we'll call it, that has
how many arrests do they have, Mike? Come on.
That has hampered maybe their
read me the
prospect
charges.
Status. Hey, that sheep was asking for it. Okay.
No. That's so gross.
But all I'm saying is, like, these guys, they generally have a ding against their prospect status, right? So they've got some questions about one of their tools, or they've got, I just realized oh no, we're doing good. My mic was a little unplugged, but that one thing, sometimes it's an injury, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's like, hey, we saw them maybe regress a little bit when they made a swing change or when they did this thing, especially for the younger guys. But those things I like, but they still have maybe a really loud tool. Like, oh, he hits for a lot of power. He's just a dominant athlete that plays center field or something like that. I like to take a look at those guys. I like that kind of approach in that, because I think you can really hit on some value and hit on some things that are like, hey, maybe that thing, whether it was the injury or the step regression in one tool or something like that, maybe that was a little overblown because he's a high school guy and he hasn't had real coaching. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I know what you're saying. You got to look for those little bits of value that may not be taken advantage of yet. Those little
that's a good
things
one.
that people aren't seeing yet. That's what you're looking for.
Or maybe he played in a cold weather state like David
right.
Shields or something like that.
Mm-hmm. That happens all the time. I'd like them to look for last scraps of upside and spend for it. Like I'm looking for, I would much rather they go for that player who's a high school kid, maybe has a ding or two on him, but everybody knows the upside is huge and he's still available at 23 because nobody wanted to pay him top 10, top 15 money, but the Royals are willing to. Right, like that's the kind of guy I'd like to go through. Now, oddly, both of the guys I'm going to talk about are college players, but there will be some college guys with upside too, right? It'll just have to be like, okay, he's got upside, but this thing is about him, and that sort of thing. If they took 2 college bats, 23 and 28, and they were like, well, this guy has a question mark, but it's not about his raw tools. It's not about that. It's about his approach. It's about, whatever. Fine, they can work with him on that. That sort of is okay with me, but I'm looking for upside. I don't want anyone who's like, okay, we've got a real safe floor at 23.
Christian Cologne.
I don't care, right? Like, I don't care if you have a real safe floor at 23. I'm not even concerned with that at all. Like, got to be looking for upside because frankly, you don't have a pick anywhere in the range of like, this guy has a real good chance to be an impact player in Major League Baseball. You're picking, you did too well last year to get that, and that's okay. Mike, it's not too early, I don't think, to talk about a few guys you might like for the Royals at 23. Why don't you give us a couple of players who you like at that spot for the Royals?
Yeah, this is it was fun to take for me. This is my first real look at those guys, and I'll look in the next 6 weeks. I'll get real weird into it. But the first guy that I liked is these guys are actually quite different. The first guy that I like is a guy named Brendan Summerhill out of he's an outfielder from University of Arizona. He's a kind of all around player, probably going to be a corner outfielder, but should play a plus right field. There's some talk about him possibly being sticking in center as well, or being able to play center with a little bit more exposure to it. I think he's probably a right fielder, but a really good one. He was the offensive leader for the University of Arizona last year, not this season, but last year, where he kind of led the team in every major statistical category as a sophomore. He goes to the Cape Cod League, dominates the Cape Cod League as a sophomore going to be a junior, but then has a hand injury, breaks his hand. And then when he comes like first or second game back from that, has a hamstring. And so it's like these two back-to-back injuries kind of stalled his production this year, but he's a good all-around hitter. He's got really positive raw power. He hasn't tapped into it as much as we'd like to see at the college level, but he's one of those guys that even if he never does, will provide enough value, even if he plays right field, because he can run the bases pretty well. He does have a pretty good approach, so he will take walks, although the chase rate's probably a little too high because he is somewhat aggressive, but he will also take a walk. And so it's like he's going to give you a little bit of value even if he isn't playing center field and hitting 30 home runs a year, because he's not going to hit 5. He's going to be, even if the raw power doesn't come completely, he's still going to be a 10 to 15 home run guy. And play an above average right field. So interesting athlete, and I like him a lot. My next guy is very different. Xavier Nayens, I think is how you pronounce it. He's a high school third baseman out of Mount Vernon, Washington. Solid athlete, not like a base stealer, not a big fast guy, but he is a big guy for sure. He's like 6'4" or something. 65 grade raw power from the left side. Kind of a tall, somewhat slim, like leverage left-handed hitter. He struggled with some swing and miss a little bit at the end of last summer on like the prospect circuit or whatever. But there were some talks of maybe that was just fatigue, that he might have played in excess of 100 games that summer and things like that. He's also made some swing changes and adjustments, but there's talk that he's a good enough athlete to stay at third with a very good arm from third, as far as power goes. Anyway, the question, I guess, will kind of be the hit tool. How much can he tap into the raw power? But he's the kind of flyer that I think you take at a 28 if he's still there and say, we've got a guy who, if we can fix the approach, if we can get him to tap into that raw power and he can stay at third, ooh, that's a stalwart for your organization in your lineup. So he's a very interesting high school prospect for me.
Yeah, two great guys, two big upside guys. I think that really is what they're going to be looking for with their top picks.
It would not surprise me if they do kind of something like this, where it's a college and a high school,
right? Because you can probably pay Summerhill slot value wherever they're at, right? And then you could do something like above slot for a 28th pick or something like that.
I want to mention this because you just brought that up. Let me mention an interesting guy for that, since the Royals are in this somewhat unique situation. His name is Jace Laviolette.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have
you heard of him? Okay. He's an interesting cat because I'm pretty sure he's going to be he's a senior this year. And he's got tremendous power, but if he's a senior, you're going to have a little bit of leverage over him. So I'm wondering if it's like, oh, could that be a candidate for a guy you take with a massive power tool with some swing and miss stuff, but then you could maybe pay him a little bit less because he is a senior, perhaps? Or I think that's what I read about him. Let me see here. Yeah, his chances to become the first 4-year. Oh no, they're talking about something else. He was just there, so he's just going to be a junior still. Okay. Never mind.
So
I take it back.
Don't listen to Mike.
I take it back. He was the other guy I was kind of interested in putting up there, though. Just
I was too. I just thought he might.
Raw power is interesting.
I think he's going before 23, and so. But yes, I am interested in him as a hitter as well. Both of mine are hitters because I think the Royals are into this notion of drafting hitters early, pitchers a little bit later, and then developing those pitchers. I think that's a wise approach. And I think they'll have some guys who can hit the ball plenty hard and have a lot of tools to work with as hitters early in the draft. I'm going with Ethan Conrad. He's an outfielder from Wake Forest, a guy who is young for the draft, still only 20 years old. But a lot of size, 6'3", a lot of power, plenty of power, I should say. Not a ton of game power right now, but he hits the ball plenty hard enough. Good all-around hitter. They need to teach him to get out front and pull the ball to his, get in the air to his pull side. But he's walking more than he's striking out right now. Good hit tool. Doesn't strike out hardly at all. Struck out 14 times, and that's it so far this season. So yeah, a lot of interesting things about him to like. Good defender in the corner, probably has played center, but probably won't play center in the future. You're talking about maybe just a plus defender in one of the corners, but a lot of offensive ability for this guy, a lot of capability coming out of a school like Wake Forest, which uses a lot of analytics to help develop hitters and pitchers. And so I'd love to see what the Royals could do for a guy like him. We know that one thing you can do now fairly easily is improve somebody's bat speed and stuff like that. I'd like to see him add just a little bit more pop and then get him pulling the ball to his pull or hitting the ball to his pull side. And all of a sudden you could have a legit 20 home run prospect shooting through your minor league system because he's an advanced hitter with an advanced approach. And that's what's important, I think. My other guy's also an outfielder, a guy named Mason Neville, an outfielder from Oregon. He's produced quite a bit of game power this year, 26 home runs so far this year, gets deep into counts, real deep into counts, which is why, despite the fact that he has 26 home runs, he also has, I think, above 50 and 60 strikeouts on the year. A lot of three true outcomes things happening for Mason Neville. They might need to teach him to be a little bit more aggressive at the plate at times, but athletic as all heck, has a really good chance to stick in center, very good defender. And when you talk about the power speed combo for Neville, it's also that he makes great reads in the outfield, but that power speed combo is really something that could help carry him through minor league baseball. Like Mike mentioned, what's a carrying tool for any one guy? For him, it might just be this overall athleticism that he has, the capacity to hit the ball hard enough to get good outcomes, and he's moving through the minor leagues fairly quickly. Plus, the good defense will always be a floor for him.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me of Wyatt Langford coming out a little bit. Langford didn't play center necessarily all the time, but he had that pop, but he swung and missed way too much. And you're like, okay, well, you're either hitting a homer, you're walking, or you're striking out. It's worked out pretty well for him so far.
It's worked out well for him. So hopefully the Royals can take advantage of some of that athleticism.
And you'll notice we did 3 out of our 4 were outfielders. Now that's not, you don't draft for need in Major League Baseball.
No.
But the system itself is pretty bereft of outfield talent.
True.
So
I'm drafting just for hitting talent, but they just happen to be in the outfield.
Yeah. I don't think it hurts for sure that they're in the outfield.
No. Royals Weekly is brought to you by Eric Oxford of West USA Realty. Do you have the same fantasy that Mike and I do? Retiring to a land of eternal summer? If so, you need to call Eric Oxford of West USA Realty pronto. He can help you transition to a lovely home in the Phoenix area and a life of fun in the sun.
Fun in the Sun was my stage name when I was a dancer. Strictly interpretive stuff. Nothing weird.
He was one of them robots you see on the sidewalk doing the robot things. Eric was one of the top real estate agents in the Phoenix area to end 2024 because he gives all of his clients a personal experience focused entirely on their needs. With Eric Oxford of West USA Realty, it's not about him. It's about you. He's there to listen to you, work for you, and guide you through the ins and outs of buying and selling in the Phoenix area.
Buying in the Phoenix area is tricky, like escaping a Guatemalan prison with nothing but a spoon.
Which Mike has done 3 times.
Thrice.
Find Eric Oxford of West USA Realty online at ericoxford.com. That's ERICKAUXIER.com. Or just give him a call or shoot him a text at 480-383-9745. That's 480-383-9745. If you're at all interested in what a life in the Phoenix area might hold, let him make the experience all about you. Hold 1 second while I get records here. I forgot to put those in here. I can easily cut this out. 33 and 26. The White Sox. 18-41. Okay. Here we go. After a day off Monday, the Royals hit the road, and thank God they get 3 games against the White Sox this week. That's going to be huge. But before that,
You say that if we drop that series, I'm going to be pissed.
Oh my, yeah. That's going to be the end of it for a lot of people. Before they get to face the White Sox, though, they'll have to make a trip down I-70 for a 3-game series against the Cardinals. Mike, we've played the Cardinals once already this season. Remind us about the team we share a state with.
Well, they're still butthurt about 1985 and losing the Rams. So, but you know what's wild? The 3 pitchers we're getting in this starting pitchers we're getting from the Cardinals in this series, the exact same ones we saw in the last series in that order. So that's wild. St. Louis is 33-26. What place is that, Mark, if you remember?
Second
place in the NL Central. Just scrapping it out there with the Cubs, I guess. That first game, we'll see Michael Lorenzen versus Andrew Palante. I don't know the guy's name. I don't listen to the audio for the game, so I don't know what they called him last time.
I feel like we missed out on quite a bit. But
yeah, we probably do. 26-year-old righty out of UC Irvine, 4.23 ERA and a 1.36 whip. Palante, you've got him as a 4-seam fastball at 94-95. He was getting over that pretty consistently in that last start. A slider, a sinker, and a knuckle curveball. He gets a lot of ground balls, lives on the ground balls. In fact, if you go look at the Cardinals pitching staff, they got a theme going in that tiny ballpark in St. Louis. They want guys to put the ball on the ground. He's 99th percentile in ground ball rate, 63.8%. Think of Brady Singer, but better. He doesn't strike a whole lot of guys out, but he does get a lot of ground balls. And so hopefully the boys can lift the ball a little bit against him. Did not do great against him last time, if I remember right. The second game will be Noah Camera versus Miles. I always screw up this guy's name too. Mikolas.
He's Greek.
Yeah, is he? Okay, good for him.
36-year-old. Tell me he's not Greek.
It is a good mustache, and they kept commenting on it last time. 36-year-old righty out of Nova Southeastern.
I don't know what that is. Okay. That might be a cosmetology school for all I know. I don't know.
I'm thinking Nova Scotia, Canada, but not Canadian. 3.90 ERA and a 1.25 whip. This dude old. He's old and he's a soft junkin' righty. 91-92 on the 4-seam fastball, a slider, a sinker, a curveball, a changeup, a sweeper. Very low strikeout rate. Actually, one of the lowest in Major League Baseball. If I remember, last time I checked, it was the lowest.
It is among the lowest at the very
14.5% among the lowest in the league. Oh, it says right there. 4.35 expected ERA. He dominated the Royals last time too. In that third game, we don't know who's going to be going for the Royals. If Reagans is ready to go back, I imagine he slides in there.
Could be that they're waiting to see how he feels the next few days. He threw his rehab start yesterday, got roughed up actually in his rehab start. And so we'll see how he feels the next few days. If he feels good enough, then he might make the start.
Okay. Well, whoever makes that, it could be another bullpen game, could be him, could be Hoffman for all we know. I don't know. Matthew Liberatore, the 25-year-old left-hander out of Mountain Ridge High School in Arizona. He's 3.08 ERA and a 1.06 whip. He's their best starter, if I'm not mistaken. I think he is, if I remember
this year so far.
Yeah. He's got a 4-seam fastball in the mid-90s, a slider, a slider, a cutter, a sinker, a changeup, and a curveball. 6 innings pitched and 1 earned run against the Royals in the previous start. His breaking pitches are all very good. The fastball is kind of hittable, but he does mix his pitches very well too. And he's one of those guys who probably isn't an ace, probably isn't like your 1, but you're pretty happy as a solid 2 for this guy in your rotation. So that's going to be a tough third game there.
Yeah, after that, they're staying in the Midwest. They're just going to drive up Illinois, basically, into Chicago, where they'll face the White Sox, who, if not for the Colorado Rockies, would be probably the laughingstock of baseball. They are 18-41 on the season, which puts them dead last in the AL Central. Their offense has an 81 weighted runs created plus, which is tied for 26 with the Kansas City Royals.
Hey.
just as bad at the White Sox on offense, y'all. Yeah, real bad. They're getting pretty good years out of Miguel Vargas, who's got a 112 weighted runs created plus, and Andrew Benintendi, who's got a 110 weighted runs
Benintendi's
created
still
plus. Yes.
playing. Good
Oh
for
yeah, and
him.
he's having some success, which is good. So we'll see how that ends up going offensively for them. The pitching staff is really what separates them from the Royals, right? Like the Royals have a terrible offense, but really great pitching. The White Sox have a terrible offense and pretty bad pitching too. 4.11 ERA as a team, which is 21st in Major League Baseball. They do have some good young starters though. They're getting good years from Shane Smith, a young starter of theirs who has a 2.68 ERA. Davis Martin, another young starter of theirs, a 3.67. The bullpen has a couple of decent guys, but it's real up and down for them in the bullpen. So, man, we'll see what happens in that White Sox series. Well, I'm not feeling good about where anybody is right now.
Shane Smith, a Rule 5 guy, isn't he?
I don't know. I can't remember.
I think he was. I think that's what they may have mentioned. Every once in a while I tune into the sound and then I get disgusted. I'm like, no. But I caught that. I think I caught the last time they played.
We'll end this week's episode like we end every episode with the Just A Bit Outside segment, where we talk about something that's interesting to us outside the world of baseball, because the people really want to know. They want to dig into the lives of the mysterious Marc and Mike Mead, who, let's face it, are not at all mysterious or interesting. Mike, tell us what's going on, because that's what we do for this segment.
One of my work colleagues, shout out Thomason, he was like, I really like the part at the end where you guys just talk about stuff. I'm like, thanks, man. He's the one who actually listens all the way to the end of the show because it takes him forever to mow his yard.
My partner just listens to this segment, but she doesn't care at all about baseball. But I will say this. Sometimes I wonder to myself, like, how huge must your ego be if you think you can just have a podcast where all you do is like sit around and talk about yourself? Like, do you honestly think you're that interesting? I don't understand. Like, I don't get it.
Do those
take
exist?
5 minutes.
Do people do that?
I think they do. I think they do exist. We take 5 minutes to do it. We're not interesting enough for anything more than that.
Okay. Well, I'm going with this awesome thing that my wife and I did today to celebrate our anniversary. We always go to a Royals game. This time we went with the family 4-pack. So I'm calling this the family 4-pack hack. All right. It's perfect for us. You get two people.
This is really close to talking about baseball.
Yeah, no, okay. It is. But it's more the viewing of baseball. You get 4 tickets for like $40. And so you take 2 people, you buy the 4 tickets, you get room on both sides. Okay. You get 4 hot dogs and 4 drinks. We got that. Okay. You can also make those waters. So we did like, a bottle of water, a couple bottles of water too. It was like perfect. And you get a parking pass, which we didn't even end up using. We gave it to somebody else because we Ubered to the game. But, it was like, man, this is great value. Why aren't like individual couples doing this more? Right? Buy a family 4-pack. It's the best deal at Kauffman Stadium.
Hey, there you are. The life hacks coming for days. I think last week Mike talked about financial planning. Just live your life the way Mike tells you. Actually, don't do that. I'm changing. Don't do that. Find other people. He's good at saving money, but
do as I say, not as I actually do.
Do the family 4-pack thing. That's fine, I'm guessing. But, that's fine. But
family 4-pack hack, man. If you don't say it, it won't become a thing.
Family 4-pack hack. Here we go. The Royals should take that and market.
Yeah, actually, if people start doing that, they're going to take it away.
Yeah. It's June 1st, and so I'm talking about Pride Month. Happy Pride Month to everyone out there, all our LGBTQ plus IA listeners especially. Hopefully you're all finding ways to celebrate in your own way. You want to wish everybody a happy Pride Month. Make sure you're also actually going out there, if you get a chance, learning about the history of Kansas City's engagement with the LGBTQA activist movement, because Kansas City does have a very unique history with the LGBT community and their sort of work to help establish rights for the LGBT community here and in Kansas City, but also in the United States as a nation. And so, as somebody who teaches a little bit about Kansas City history, I've gotten to crack into that history quite a bit myself, and it's very interesting. And Kansas City played a pretty pivotal role in the rise of the gay rights movements of the late 1960s and early 1970s, and it's something that I do not regret at all learning more about. And so make sure you're getting out there, learning about Kansas City's role in doing those various things. There are some resources out there on there. I wish they were easier to find, but they do exist, I promise. So if you want to go out there, and I should have probably found some for you, but if you're really interested, email me and I will get those to you, because they're very, very interesting and worth looking into. Also, if you're thinking to yourself, hey, it's Pride Month, I'd like to do something to help LGBT people here in Kansas City, there are numerous nonprofits and organizations dedicated specifically to helping the LGBT community with housing, with rights, with social opportunities, with work opportunities, and things like that. And a lot of their funding is getting cut right now, thanks to governmental policies related to DEI and things like that. And so organizations like Trans Joy, organizations like so many others, I can't think of their names right now because I'm blanking on all of them, but look up various organizations here in Kansas City, because there are quite a few doing a lot for the LGBT community here in Kansas City, if you'd like to help support them financially, because right now is a pretty tough time for them financially. So if you get a chance, make sure you do that. I'll try and throw some links into the show notes so that you can find those organizations if you'd like to. All right. That's all we have for you this week. Please take the time to subscribe, rate, review, all those sorts of things. We really, really appreciate it. We will be back again next week, no matter what, to talk more about the Royals. Hopefully it's good stuff. I don't know. But until then, be good to each other.
And go Royals.